And Matt, that's the only kinds of shirts he gets, donut-based T-shirts.
I have several.
Do
His
you, and
entire-
legit question, do you have any other shirt in your possession that has a donut?
No.
Okay.
No.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Trevor Hancock here, and today we have some very special guests. This is going to be a little bit different today on the Portable Trevor Show. Normally, I just do a one-on-one interview, sometimes two people, but today I'm going to have two guests, and instead of just talking about what they do, which they will, we're going to do a panel discussion on a feature film that they made. So please welcome Matt Dickstein and Shane Hartline. Woo! Wish I had a sound effect bar. So guys, first of all, congratulations. You made a feature film. Like, how many people can say that, honestly? Not a lot.
No, there's a lot.
There's a lot, but it's the percentage, to
finishing,
everyone.
sure.
Yeah. But when did you guys shoot this?
Take it away, Matt.
We got this in January of 2016, the end of January 2016. I came on production in like November-ish, but they'd been producing since like summer-ish of like writing and producing and prepping since like summer 2015 at least, if not longer.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we started writing in probably August of 2015. Spent quite a bit of time writing, researching, and then also prepping a Indiegogo campaign that we didn't know what we were doing with. That's fundraisers they're a lot of work, and especially they're really daunting if you don't know what you're getting yourselves into. And there is an art to asking people for money and getting people needing to get people as excited about something as they need to be to give their money to your thing, So there's it's a whole thing.
it's a whole
Yeah, I feel like
thing.
a lot of people think they need, these crowdfunding projects to, start their own. So what does that whole process look like, and how did you get people excited about this film?
Well, I think what benefited us with this is we made the decision early on to shoot this movie back in my hometown, in Lake Wales, Florida, and for many reasons. But one reason, it was much cheaper. We could stay with my family. So found out early on that people were getting really excited and wanted to be a part of it and contribute. So what we found, is while we were still so fortunate to raise, I think we ended up raising like 8,000 something on the Indiegogo, which is great. But what we found is we got more donations in other kinds of ways. Like we were donated locations, we were donated, people came and gave us their time, donated food. We got a fire truck. We, all kinds of things that would have cost a fortune if you, didn't have a hookup, or if your hometown wasn't pumped, you were shooting a horror film. So yeah, that's what I found is I don't know. It's it is hard to get people excited about what you're needing them to get excited about. But I think that the best first step is to make sure you're excited about what you're wanting to make and what you're asking people to donate their hard-earned money to. Because if you're not excited and your heart's not in it, they can sense that, and why would they want to contribute?
Yeah.
So you were among some of the writers, Shane. How did you conceive this idea? And by the way, so the film is called The Haunting of Grady Farm, and it's kind of like this found footage horror film, and it's really cool. It was just a neat film. I watched it last night. Thanks, and man. Just some really interesting concepts, fun characters, and really puts you in the action of everything that's going on in these people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, the very, very first original idea we had was a completely different one. Actually, we were going to do a movie that took place entirely inside of a Uber, like a rideshare. We were going to do a whole horror film that was like a rideshare horror film, and there ended up being a couple of good ones actually. But and then it morphed because we were like, oh, we could this person. It's always like this. When you're making something, you're like one person's like, oh, but I know somebody with this land we can shoot on, and I know somebody that has this. So it's like you start with one idea, and then like when you find out like, oh, I have this shiny toy that I could bring to the party, the idea will probably usually evolve if you have access to something that like let's shoot on this land that's massive that would have usually cost us a fortune, but these people are donating it to us, and that's why the idea how the idea evolved into a land that was haunted by something. And then just through research, and I got to give credit to Malia, one of the producers and actresses in the movie, because she is the one that really put a lot of work into the research and then finding this creature called the Sluagh that has never been represented in film in any way, maybe one episode of a TV show before. But we were the first feature or anything that's touched on the subject. So we were like, oh yeah, of course let's make that the creepy thing. Like, let's be the first,
Well, so the Sluagh was like a real thing, sort of?
It's a creature of Irish folklore. So it's like the boogeyman story in America. That's kind of in Ireland. That's kind of their boogeyman in a sense. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now it's in Florida.
It came with a
yeah.
The story is there was an Irish family that immigrated from Ireland to Florida, and so the spirit of the creature like came with them, basically.
Interesting. And tell me about this like space, because you had a huge playground in this movie. It looked like the land was just like infinite, and then you had like these trailers, and the set decking was amazing, by the way. Like, did you guys find it that way, or did you make it that way?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start, but I definitely want Matt to touch base on like,
totally.
They did so much. I want to say there was a lot of work, but even probably not as much as it would have usually taken to make the sets look like they did, because this land was donated to us like it was through a family friend, and their family before lived on the land. And so the creepy house that's in the movie, this was the lady that we knew at the time. She grew up in that house, and then it was just abandoned. And the story is apparently the family that was living in that house, they moved to a trailer on that land, but just left everything in the house and kind of just like made it a little storage place, but then lived in a trailer on the land that basically we turned into our base camp. But Matt, I mean, I'd love to hear like your take on like, cause you guys, the places we could have gone in and just shot, but you guys did go in and do some work to move things around and like put like an artistic touch on, but everything, we didn't bring anything in. Everything that you saw was existing. Like it just was repurposed.
Which like, obviously like, I think, if you can afford like a set deck or something like that, like they'll bring like a certain touch, because like the difference like between like our film and another film that might cost exactly so much. Like our film was like I think at the end it was like 15,000 or something like that. And like 15,000 isn't a lot for like a film. But so like if you see like other $15,000 films, it's like blank walls, like a table with like no anything, like just like this very boring set, because they probably found like a friend who's like a real estate agent and was like, oh yeah, you can use this empty house, and they brought like some stuff, but they didn't bring like, it's like one flower. And like it just feels very cheap. Whereas like literally like us a video before we started shooting, before we went down, just to kind of get us in like the mood, and that definitely was like, oh my gosh, like we're gonna shoot at this place, and like it's right by your parents' house, but it's still like a drive, because it is like you drive down like this really long driveway. And so like they got off the plane. I think we shot like something because like we like the crew like drove down, and like all the cast came in from LA, and it's like, oh, let's go see the place. And like it's like a big factor in the story is like the layout of like the area. There's like chicken, there's like the area that we knew was gonna be like our camp area, and that was really where we did like the most real like set deck, because we just wanted it to feel like camp slash, and we had like it was like an early filmmaker mistake is that, like, you see like the gear in the shot, but we were like, oh, they're filmmakers, so we'll just put the gear in the shot. Like, so like not a ton of thought, but like when we get to like this house, we did very little because it was, and I hope that I'm not offending anybody who owned it, but it was a mess. Like it really looked like somebody who just had given up on their hygiene lived there, and it's like it smelled bad. There were rats. Like it was the real deal. And we were like, okay, so we did like a very small amount of stuff. We put like we kind of decided like, oh, maybe this guy's like a hunter, so we put some like animal things kind of up. But other than that, like that was kind of like that was how we found it. Like, did it, you know. But yeah, and then one of my favorite stories, like it was like I personally spent a lot of time like in the house, like, and like it did smell really bad. Like I think like a lot of times like we'd be in there, we'd like pull our shirts over our noses and like that because it really smelled like it, you know. And I saw rats and stuff like that. But so the house has an occupant in the movie, not to give too much away, but the guy who played the occupant, Tony DeMille, told us like 2 weeks ago, like he didn't like being in the like, so like he requested that we have like a PA, a guy named Ray, who was I don't even want to call him a PA, like he was
man of many hats.
Like it was like, hey, we need this to happen, and it's like, oh, Ray's already done that and he's moved on to the next thing. So Ray just hung out like in this back room with this dude just because he was like, I feel like something's gonna pop out and kill me, because like it was that's the kind of place it was. Like
It was haunted, I mean, like, man. It was haunted.
It was creepy. There was a lot of like it, like, you know, your first couple of days, like you're like going in the dark and everything. You're like, this is creepy, but like by the end of it, it's like, oh yeah, I can walk. Can
we touch on the first couple of days and how you got injured pretty badly the first couple of days? And I mean, what I mean by badly is badly in the way that it like affected, you know, the running and all of the physicality that not only the actors had to do, but you got to think about this. Matt was also the DP too. So he's having to run. If we're running, Matt is running. So tell a little bit about what you did.
So we kind of told like the cast, like, hey, like, you know, we really want this to feel like as natural as possible. Like use your instincts. So like if we like make a noise off to the side or something like that, like react to it. So I decided we were shooting something. I think Shane was like playing with like a Jack in the Box or something, and I kicked something. I didn't know what I kicked, and I broke my toe.
Oh no, that's the worst thing that could happen on a found footage film.
On a found footage where there's a ton of running, like I was expecting to like lose like 10 pounds just from running, and I mean our catering was amazing. Kudos to Candy. Amazing. That's the best catering I've ever had on any set ever. But yeah, so like
none of us lost weight. We just like stayed at a standstill. Like we should have theoretically lost weight by so much weight by the end of this, because we're sprinting over and over like every day.
Yeah.
But we just were eating so good that we all just like left the same weight
because the catering was so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my mom made it happen.
So, yeah, it was, you know, like to just like briefly touch, and we could probably like however you want to like go with the flow, but like it was very much like a camp atmosphere, very much like a family atmosphere. We all like lived together, we all like worked together, and a huge part of that was Shane's family and Shane's mom and Shane's sister and everyone, and I mean they have credit because like they were totally like, I mean Shane's sister literally like did makeup, like Shane's mom. It was like, you know, in the same way.
She's same like Ray. She just helped with everything,
and that speaks to like just what a great time it was. Like I mean, I posted like a picture of my daughter on like Instagram a couple of days ago, and your mom like was like, oh, she's so cute. It's like your mom is such a really sweet lady. Like I love the Hartlines. I will always love the Hartlines. You guys can know.
And the Hartlines love the Dicksteins.
Do no wrong in my book, but like yeah, like. It's like, what a cool area. And yeah, like definitely like breaking my toe on like day 2. Yeah, like I remember like we took like a break. I took my boot off and my toe was like 3 times bigger than it normally is. And I was I was like, okay, let's keep going. That was just like, like I think I was hobbling, and then I think eventually it just went numb, and I was like, all right, it was back to normal. But like, yeah, like I was like, I'm not, this is such a huge thing, like for me, like my first feature, my first like DPing a feature, like I'm like, I'm not gonna like let this get in the way. Like I'm just gonna, you can live with a broken toe. I've broken
Show
toes.
must go on.
Show must go on. So everyone was like super cool. No one was like, "Well, you idiot," whatever. But it was just like, yeah, all right. Like it's, I think a lot with this film was like, here's a roadblock, and then we were like, okay, how do we get around this roadblock? Because like, I think I've said it a couple times. Like, it's a miracle for a film to be made. It's a small miracle to like start and finish a script. 90 pages or whatever. The script was not 90 pages, but it was, we had a great roadmap. It's a miracle to get from that script to, it's a bigger miracle to get from script to production. And then a lot of people think, oh, you've shot your movie, editing is going to be easy. But editing is actually, I think, the biggest miracle, because that's where that's where it takes, like, we shot in 2 weeks, that's nothing compared to.
And you got to think too, when you're shooting, you're so excited, like everybody's excited. So you're seeing the thing happen. But with post, what's hard is nobody's seeing it anymore, other than the people that are working hands-on with it. So to need the help from an entire team of people, it's like it takes people keeping up that excitement, especially if it's a small team with very little money, the huge part of it is keeping the morale up and the energy up and the momentum. And because, a big reason it took so long is that it took so long because we needed somebody to like keep the momentum, keep the boat moving. And, it just 1 week can turn into a month, and a month can turn into a year. And when, you have other things you have to do too, and people have jobs. And so, you learn too, after doing something like this with a little budget. I mean, I say little, but 15 grand is a lot of money. Like, yeah. And it's just like, what I've learned is, cause I've made a feature with 15, and I've made a short with 50,000. So it's like, I learned that it's just, you can make anything with any amount of money, but the experience is just going to be different. Yeah. With more money, it's going to be an easier experience, and that getting into it. But there's still a huge part of me that, like, the filmmaker side of me, that like, it's almost a challenge to be like, oh, you want me to make a feature for 15? All right, I'll do it. I got you. Like you just got to go into it knowing that the experience is going to be completely different.
Yeah. What are some methods that you guys took to make sure that the morale and like the vibe of the set was good? Because I've heard some ways you pay your crew and your cast, or you do catering, or you take breaks or whatever. So what were some things you guys did? Because Shane, you're a pretty funny guy, so I'm sure you entertained everyone too.
To be very honest, it was a very hard shoot. But I think what kept the morale up is we were very pampered. We were very spoiled by my mom and my family, and we had a nice base camp. And if we wouldn't have had that base camp, we would have been miserable, because it was in the record low temperatures at this time in Florida of like 30 to 40 degrees. So if we didn't have a place like a trailer to go into and warm up between takes, it would have been even more miserable experience. But that being said, I think we stayed, at an operating good pace because we weren't hungry. We were able to snack, and, we had days off here and there, and we enjoyed ourselves. Like, Matt got our old Scott Hall hooked us up with some NXT tickets while we were all down there, which was so cool. So little things like that. It's important to every 5 to 7 days while you're shooting something to take a group trip somewhere, at least go grab a meal or something to, like, outside of the set, keep the morale up. If you're doing a film like this, where it's like an ensemble group of people on top of less than 10 crew members, but the part that was hard for me and was, and Matt, this in the same position is, if you're doing a film with under 10 people in production, you're ultimately going to have to wear multiple hats. Mm-hmm. One hat that I ended up having to wear that I wasn't expecting to, that is a really stressful hat to put on your head, is the AD position, the person that's scheduling, the person that's like having to keep the day moving because we got to finish this, by a certain time. And, and also being a lead actor, like there was a lot of times where it was hard for me to like stop and smell the roses, as much as I wanted to, because like this is what we want to do. This is all we want to do. But luckily, like, I can't say there wasn't many times too on the other side that like we kind of would step back and like, I mean, it's in the trailer, so this isn't spoiling anything, but like the car is on fire and we're making a movie and there's a goddamn car on fire. You know what I mean? Like, that's so rad. Like, these are things when we're a kid, we imagine, so there's little moments like that. It undeniably takes you out of your stress or whatever is it going on in your head. You just like snap out of it and like recenter yourself. And you're like, okay, this is cool. Like, you're going to undeniably have those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Matt, I want to talk about that scene real quick. Since you said it, there's a car on fire with that scene. How did you guys pull that scene off? Because it's not often you can just set a car on fire for a film.
Honestly, that's all Shane's dad, really. Like Shane's dad. We were so like, again, like, and I don't want to like make every $15,000 film sound like, a crapshoot, because like there are some like Clerks is like a $15,000 film, and it's like in the pantheon of like one of the greatest independent films ever made. So like I don't want to like make it sound like, and again, like I have no illusions about like my position in the film industry. I'm not some huge guy, but like I have been around several sets, several productions. I've been, I've done a lot of things, and so I feel like I have knowledge of stuff, and it's like, so I know independent film is the Wild West. And I know that people have like issues with like unions because of like the regulations, but essentially, like, to me, like a union means that it's going to be as safe as you can get. People are going to get like health insurance, like important things, but there's also like, things that you can and can't do. And I know that like on an independent film, like potentially somebody would be like, you know what, we want to set a car on fire, so we're just going to set a car on fire, and they're going to do it in a way that's potentially going to be dangerous, in a way that's going to be, like there's like straight up, like people do die on like independent film sets, and that's a real thing, and people die on non-independent union film sets too, but like usually there's something much different going on. So I can 100% say we did this right. We did this as safe as possible. The fire department was there. Like literally, like we had to move a fire truck because it was in the shot.
Yeah. I mean, one of the benefits of, shooting in my hometown is my dad owns he owns a fire safety company, like fire safety equipment company. So he has the hookup with the local fire marshal. He has the hookup with the fire department. So, when you're shooting in your hometown, which I suggest if you come from a small town and you want to make something, go back to your hometown, get your community excited, because it's a lot easier like to be like, hey, Dad, we want to light a car on fire, and I know all the people that we can do that safely, the right way. And behind the camera is a fire truck in case stuff gets out of control. You know what I mean? So It's like, I mean, like Matt said, I mean, there has been tragedies on films because of just being flippant, being like, oh, we'll just, we're going to run and gun it. Like, no, like people could die,
Yeah.
And like something that like, I don't know if we were thinking about, but like when headlights get hot enough, they pop.
Yeah.
So like, that's a thing. Like that, like, the windshield is gonna like that's things, because like I mean it's an oven, it's just building pressure and all that stuff. So like we had like Shane's dad at the fire department, they're like
telling us these things that I would have never known.
Yeah, and like when it popped, it was like, I'm really glad I wasn't standing there, and we shot with like certain lenses and stuff like that to make it like we didn't really get as close to the car.
No, we were not close.
Because we knew like those the windshield could go, the windows, anything could go at any moment. But so like, yeah, like we were really safe, and like it's I always think about the movie Super 8 when like there's like the director kid who is totally me when I was that age. Like production value, like the train's going like production value. So like yeah, like it is a dream to shoot with a car on fire. I can it's a dream to do so much of what we did.
Mm-hmm.
Like and if anybody's people who are watching, like after you've seen the movie, like ask me like some of the dream shots that we did, because we did some really amazing dream stuff that I was like, I never thought, but now I know how to do those things. I know how to do them safely, and like yeah, like I can sleep at night saying like we didn't put anyone in danger, because like
For sure.
anytime that you do anything with fire, you should probably have like there's a reason,
Yeah.
like you have the ambulance on set without planning to ever use it, but you have it there, kind of thing. So like we
Mhm.
had the fire department on set. We were like, we're gonna do everything in our power to make sure that like they're not upset with anything that we do, because that's like a lot of you know there's so much that can go wrong, and it's not worth it to make a film and be like, we hurt people or we did it wrong or whatever. Like no film is worth like putting people's lives in danger.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be known as that guy. Shane, so earlier you said that you wore a lot of hats on set, and so did you, Matt. But so having to be the assistant director and like coordinate all these things with your dad and everything, how did you balance that and like getting into character? Because there's your character is just in hysteria like most of the movie and like running
Mhm.
around. How did you like get into that zone, even though you're worried about is the fire marshal going to be here on time? Are we going to get catering? Or is the director happy?
Yeah.
All these
Yeah.
things going in your head, and you have to put on a good performance.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say it wasn't difficult. It was hard at times, it really
Mhm.
was. But like, I mean, it's sometimes as an actor, you don't have the perfect setting of like, I just walked out of my trailer. I spent 30 minutes meditating to get into this. Sometimes you don't get that setting. So a part of taking classes and being a professional actor is knowing that, okay, hey, Matt, I need like 5 minutes to like warm myself up,
Mm.
and that's different for every person. Some people listen to music, when I have different things that get me to different places as an actor. Like if I need to get emotional, I have a playlist on my phone that takes me to like an emotional place, and then I'm feeling very vulnerable and I can do an emotional scene. But if I need to get worked up and angry, much like I was very inspired by that footage from the Shining when Jack Nicholson is just like like, so Matt probably has so much footage of an audio of me just like like I sound like a gorilla before some takes, but I just need to feel it in my bones and my blood, and just I need to get my heart rate up. And like, because you can't go from 0 to 100. Maybe some actors can, but I mean, every actor is different. Like what works for me is I have like, okay, I need to get to somewhere pretty quickly. I know different ways that I can do that. Like, but it was hard. It was hard because I'd be lying if I wasn't saying that, like, most takes I'm like not I would stop and make sure that I got there for the heavy takes, but there were some like other takes where I didn't need to get all worked up and emotional, where I'm like, I might if I'm sitting in the car going to the land, I might be thinking about like, okay, what else do we got left to shoot today? Like, and that's not ideal for an actor in any kind of scene setting, but like,
Mm.
again, we're making our own thing for 15,000. Like, you know what you're getting yourselves into. I didn't know before, like, but I know now. And like, everything we make, I mean, you just made a short. I'm sure through that experience, you will now go on and make something, and you've learned so much from even that experience. Like, you just learn from everything you do. It's so cliche, but like, every project you learn something. You learn how you want to do things. You learn how you want to do things differently the next time. And yeah, this was the biggest learning experience of my career to this point.
Mhm. This is a question for both of you guys. So I feel like there's an art form to this kind of horror film, like, or horror genre. Like you can't just pick up a camera and just start like all right, do your scene, go, like with no script or plan or anything. And I'm sure there wasn't a lot of improv in this movie, but how did you guys pull that off?
I want to start because there's a funny story about this. So when we approached Matt and his team, initially, we went with them and we were like, hey, we want to, we kind of just want to shoot this thing based on an outline and just improv everything.
Oh,
And Matt and the guys were like, basically like, okay. Like, I hear you, but like we, as the guys that have to shoot this thing and so many other factors, like script is not just for obviously the actors, it's for the people that are shooting the scenes, that are the art design. It's the purpose of a script is there's so many purposes for it. So that was a huge learning process too, because we didn't really know that to the extent until Matt and them were like, okay, like what we did though is we had a very detailed outline. So it was very easy for us to then go in and just get the script out because we already had the world in our head and we had this detailed outline that we thought we were going to be able to shoot on. But it was easy for us to flip around a script. And then when we got to set, Matt gave us so much freedom of like, let's get a take, that's close to script, but like, most takes we found so much you find like the natural rhythms and like, hey, can I try to say this a little different? And like, that's when you get like real genuine, like the feel of a real genuine conversation. Would you agree, Matt?
Yeah. I mean, it was funny because it was like this like 9-page thing.
It was so short.
I was like okay. They get off the plane and then they go to the house and they talk in the kitchen and it was like okay, like it was like okay.
It was an outline, is all it was.
Yeah, and it was like just in case we, because like it was present like this is Shane and Ben and Malia and Jeremiah and Amanda and everybody, and like they're improv comedians, so like they want to do like a feature basically like almost like improv, almost like a Curb Your Enthusiasm, but like horror. Which I'm like, yeah, that's I'm not, I've been to a couple of like Shane's like improv shows and stuff like that. And I'm like, and then they sent me like clips of like the shows that he'd done. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to get in the way of like that. But I just want to make sure that like, just in case, because like sometimes like things can go long or something like that. And it's like, okay, like let's come back to the slew walk kind of thing. And we never really had to do that ever. It was really just like, because we had like, we turned like the 9-page thing into like a 15 to like 30-page script kind of over like, that was kind of the November, December area. Had like a couple conversations like before we started shooting once we were all together and about like just like characters, like there's like a couple of characters who like really go through some really cool character arcs. Literally, so everybody who I know who has watched this film is like, I hope Charlie dies first. And by the end of the movie, they're like, man, Charlie, wow, what a great character arc. And like, we're just really proud of like that kind of thing. And I think everybody goes through like a really great character arc. There's like really powerful things, but it's just funny that like we were able to do that. You're like, man, I really liked every character at the end, by the end of it. Because he's built up as like this like obnoxious jerk. And we built some, fun stuff into that. But like,
yeah, without giving anything away, I just remember, because I didn't like Charlie either, but by the end I was just, not to give anything away, I was just like, all these characters are so cool. They better get out of here.
That's the general consensus of what people are saying about Charlie. A lot of people did not like his character, but like, I think that was kind of the intention in the beginning of it.
Yeah, I saw what you guys did. I mean, he's a well-written character.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot of just how Jeremiah actually is. There wasn't a lot of stretch there. That's how his personality actually is.
I mean, like honestly, like half the time we were filming, even when we were filming, like not when we were doing like super emotional stuff, but like half the time we were filming, we were laughing, like and like it was a fun, like it was a hard, challenging shoot with a lot of problem solving, but it was like a fun, rewarding, like like if you guys pick up the eventual DVD, you'll see like a bunch of outtakes and I don't know if it's social or not, but we showed them a couple weeks ago, and I mean, you can just tell that like, you know, it's a bunch of people who like love each other and are having fun. But like there's like moments in the film that we had never talked about, like that we had never even, because like having this like roadmap of like, okay, like just in case we get lost, we can come back to like this dialogue, or just in case like, because like just in case you need something to say, just in case you need to like figure out how to get from here to there, here's like just a roadmap. And so having that, we would be able to like finish things and be like, we feel really good about this, like, hey, I've got an idea. Can we go like just shoot something really quick? Maybe, you know, we have an hour, you know, we wrapped this scene early. We have half an hour, we have an hour till the next scene. You know, we're waiting on another talent or something like that coming in. Like I just had an idea. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But like that, and that's like I love that kind of creative of like, hey, like let's see what, just let's put these two characters, or like these three characters, in a situation kind of in here, and just like let's have some fun. Like, so that was like one of my favorite things was creating moments like that. And not every single one of them made the final cut, but like a couple of them did. And like I think that those are some of like the coolest moments, just because it's like, yeah, like we really create like this was a practice, and just some really great creation with like some really creative people, and like everyone like had a say. And like, you know, not everybody on every film set has a say necessarily, but everybody, no one I think on set was like, didn't have a sense of ownership of this.
Everyone's voices were heard.
Yeah. So like,
Awesome.
because like there are several, and like cause you guys have known each other for a while. You guys have done like classes and shows and things like that together, and then like, you know, bringing me on and it was just like, but we made sure to like respect time, because we could have been like, ooh, I want to do this, and then like it was when it was work time, it was work time, and on breaks is kind of when we would like kind of like figuring out, you know, the kind of the tinkering, and that was like a lot of fun.
Like I'll never forget, one of the nights we were shooting was the Royal Rumble, and we were like all huddled around watching it on my cell phone. And then AJ Styles made his debut, and we were like, a small group of us were like freaking out. And like, that's a memory that sticks out, like being in base camp and we're shooting this crazy scene outside, but in between takes, we're like watching the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
That was happening right up the street at the time too. Like I
was in Florida.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
We
were 20 minutes outside of Orlando. Every picture that we took was geotagged as being at Legoland. So that was really
my family lives literally right next to it.
We would pass Legoland every day. It's like, oh, there it is.
I want to go to Legoland. Not right now though. So speaking of problem solving, what was the quickest moment or problem that you had to solve on your feet on set?
Oh, I got a fun story. So one of the actresses in the film, Amanda, she had a blood curdling scream in one of her takes. And I think we even used the audio in the trailer. So, you know, we put all of the work in that we could have. Every day we would call the police department. We informed neighboring people that there was a horror movie being shot. So if you get crazy phone calls or if you hear anything, don't be frightened. You know, it's nothing crazy. But, you know, her scream reached apparently miles away, and somebody called the cops. So, and they called the cops and apparently said it sounded like somebody's being murdered in the woods. So at some point after that, like I'm walking out of base camp and these cops have their guns drawn, and I'm like, whoa, you know, like, and because one, they heard somebody screaming in the woods. And then two, we had another perk of being in my hometown is there was a haunted house in the time in my hometown. It wasn't operational at the time, but they still had the place and they had all the stuff in it. So the guy, super awesome guy, Shallow Grave Haunted House. he basically gave us like, he let us come through and just take anything to use it, like these amazing horror props and dead bodies. So if you've watched the movie, maybe give it a second watch. That's all I'm going to say. But so we had this whole room in base camp that was full of very realistic dead bodies that apparently the cops also got a peek of while they were searching the house. So they had guns drawn, thinking somebody was dying in the woods, and they saw what they thought were dead bodies. So that was a quick, like, hey guys, no, we're making, whoa, 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 whoa type of situation. But what ended up happening that's even funnier, wait, there's more. The cops were so stoked about what we were doing that they wanted to be a part of the movie. So the cops, one of them is technically, can we say what he is, Matt, or do you care?
Yeah, he's a slua, right?
Yeah, he's one of the creatures in one of the scenes. So
awesome.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So he was so pumped that and that's really cool too. It's like, because at that point we're like, okay, now the cops are cool with what we're doing. We don't have to stress about that. It's another thing you really got to be conscious of. If you're making a horror film in a small town, you do need to call the cops non-emergency line every single day that people are going to be screaming, and you're going to have weird noises and fires, and you just really got to put the groundwork in on notifying your community of what is happening. But that's one of the definite, like, oh, I got to think on my moment because there's guns being pulled,
Yeah.
There was one gun pulled that Tony uses, and Matt kind of told me a little bit about that at work. Do you want to talk about that, Matt?
Yeah. So, not a weird industry thing, but that was a real shotgun. It was not loaded, but anytime that you have any kind of, so there's like a clown like hanging up, and like we weren't goofing off. We were just like what happens if this goes off, just to like be like absolute safety. So we pointed it from a pretty good distance from the clown, and we like pulled the trigger, and the clown exploded of just like air.
Well, we had a blank in it because we wanted to use it for the audio. Yeah. We wanted to do a take. We wanted to do a take where nobody's in front of the gun, obviously, but we wanted to have like the visual of the muzzle and, the sound. And even we tested it, like, because I thought, I was like, a blank, nothing is coming out, but there's still force and there's still, so we were like, nope. Once we tested it, like, it was still too much. Like, a shotgun blank is very different from like a pistol blank. It's a completely different thing.
But yeah, like that adds like a level, any kind of level of gravity to like the acting and just like making sure that like we're focused on set and everything. And like, again, it's one of those things where independent film can be the Wild West. And again, like, things have happened on sets and things have happened on, big time, not independent union sets. You can look up like what happened on like the set of The Crow. Like, that was, it's just crazy stuff happens. And sometimes it's not anyone's fault, but like, you just want to always be sure like that, like, at the very least, if something does happen, you do everything you can to make sure nothing happens. But at the very least, if something does happen, you can at least say like, hey, like, that sucks, but it wasn't anyone's fault. But we were great. And it adds just like another like level of like the performance. Like, we kind of had like a powwow of like, look, like, there's this dude like, throwing a gun around and like, you guys like, let's like really like sit in like the gravity of like this situation where like, things are already happening that are crazy. There's this guy like, and I think everybody, that's some of the most intense parts of the film. It's some of the best acting in the film. And a lot of it is just like I think some of the best acting is not acting, and it's not that they were really scared, but it was like, okay, like, this is a real gun. This is like a real guy, like, just kind of like treating it like that kind of situation, like respecting like the situation that we were in and everything. And like, like I'm on my knees with the actor. Like it wasn't just like, oh, you guys, be safe. It was like, let's all, I'm right there with you guys, and so let's all be safe and be good and everything. That's actually like one of, like, I don't do a ton of acting. Like I've done a little bit of acting.
I was going to ask you that. Like, did you had to have had moments where you were probably feeling what we were feeling?
Yeah. It's hard, like one of the big things that like you get somebody, like if they can't, and no one had any trouble like getting in a character really, but like if you're like my character's heart rate is up, so like I'm gonna get my heart rate up, but like I'm running with them, so like yeah, like so like my camera movements, I didn't have to think too much about them because I was just like, okay, I'm running too, let's throw the camera this way or whatever. Like so it was it was almost like a class in like acting as a director, like because I have to think about like my camera movements have to be like in character, like what is the character thinking and doing right now, where is he looking, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest compliments I can give this film is it felt like these were real people, like we were in their lives, and I think that was good character building in like the beginning. It's like slow, it's kind of slow, but it's to like say, hey, these are real people. We want you to care about their lives and what they're about to go through. And Matt, I think you did a great job of, how did you get that out of people? Because it never felt like, oh, this person's acting. And obviously Shane, you and the rest of the cast are professionals, but there's never that moment where you're like, oh, this is clearly a script. These are, clearly lines that were preconceived.
Well, chemistry is everything. And I think we had the pre-existing chemistry. Like we were all like a group of legit friends. And, most films, if you don't have that, there's like chemistry sessions and there's like, hey, we're all going to hang out this weekend type of things to build chemistry. But chemistry is so important. I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, like it was, cause like I was like the stranger coming into like the group of friends, which was like, that was definitely like scary for me. But I mean, like we did like a couple, like we were doing Zoom calls before Zoom calls were cool. I mean, but that's just because like not even like a small amount of production is on the East Coast. Most everybody's on the West Coast. Like, so we had to do like Skype calls and, Google Hangouts, stuff like that, just to make sure that we were like, going to be good. I think we did like a couple like brief read throughs and just like talking through like the characters, talking through kind of motivation, stuff like that. But I mean, like, they had built-in chemistry, and no one needed any convincing, like, because like sometimes like when you're trying to get like an actor to go somewhere emotionally or like physically, like you kind of need to like hold their hand through it a little bit. No one needed that on the set. Like everyone was just like really committed. Like it just like, and it helps that like it was there, like it's my I feel very much like this is my baby as much as like Shane and everybody, but like at the time this was like when I'm a writer and a director and I'm going to a cast, I'm kind of like saying like I'm trusting you with my baby. This was like the reverse.
This was it was a very different, like not a normal film situation. Like in most cases the director is a part of the birthing, but like in this case, it was a little bit flipped. It was like the producers and lead actors are kind of the ones that came up with the idea and then brought in the director. And so it was, I never really thought of it that way, but it was a little flipped.
Yeah. So like, if anything, like I wanted to make sure that like everything I was doing wasn't going against the grain of, cause like they created these characters. So like, and I think any actor should like know the character better than anybody, even if they didn't write the character, but like they wrote, and like, this is not a knock on like actors kind of playing a version of themselves, but everybody does kind of play a version of themselves in a certain way,
Well, that's a good actor is like, like
finding. So it's, I feel like somebody could hear that and be like, oh, so you're saying like, they're not really acting. And I think like, again, like the best acting is not acting, but like these were characters that they had spent time with and created for several months before I had ever even, met any of them. And so, yeah, it was just kind of fun, like being, now that I'm literally a person who hands people babies, I now get the weight of that. Like I did not want to be like we knew what we were doing, but this director came here and messed everything up. Like, so it's a lot of weight, but it was a really, because that was the first time that I'd ever directed something I didn't write. And I mean, what a fun challenge that is now, like, going to be this awesome thing that's out there, and very proud of it, and
For the rest of time.
for the rest of time. And like, yeah, like, in the 4 years since, and the fact is that, like, first features, they take a while. So, like, I don't think we went slower than anybody else, like, and it's just independent film. Again, it's the Wild West. Crazy.
And sometimes the process of pre-production may have been the longer process of, like, idea to conception, like, but this was a little bit, like, everything about this was a little bit different. Like, the whole thing was, not the usual way things go, but
yeah, but that's the fun of it, is that it's like we got to do something different. Because I know, I mean, like, Shane's been on some huge productions and some very traditional. I've been on very, very traditional productions and some very non-traditional. But this was just like, it was like a bunch of people who were, like, hungry to do something else. And so instead of saying, "Oh, I wish I could do this," it was like, you know what, we're just gonna do it. And I think it was, like, all the right people at all the right time.
I was totally inspired because I was seeing friend after friend of mine out here in Los Angeles make a movie, sell them, and then go on to make their next thing. I'm like, okay, I got to do it, like, because, that's what I wanted to do. So at some point you do just have to make the first step into making your thing, because here's the truth, man. Like, it cracks me up, and, like, and this is just a personal opinion of mine. Like, I get web series. I love web series, but theoretically you could make a feature, like by episode 6, if they're more than 10 minutes, you've made a feature. So just make a feature. Like, you know what I mean? So that's always, like, there's no excuse. Like, you can make a feature, it's just, if you, like, hesitant about making your first thing, just, like, sit down, really assess what your honest, like, means are. Like, what can I scrounge together? Or do you have a hookup to an investor? Or can I go to my hometown and I know that I could shoot in a mall or something, something crazy, like, which is, like, I have a mall in my hometown that, Matt, we should shoot something in.
Ooh, next feature film.
Ooh. The Haunting of Grady Mall.
The Haunting of Grady Mall.
The sequel.
That is hilarious. No, but I mean, like, yeah, just make your thing, because you just have to, at the end of the day, like, make the first step, because, I mean, it can happen, but usually nobody's going to come to you. You have to, like, show the world why you deserve it.
Do you remember that moment that you had when you were like, yes, this is going to happen?
For me,
my personality. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, no. I mean, I would say, like, for me, I mean, like, the first thing was, like, because every filmmaker that I know, every filmmaker is looking for their first feature. Like, if you want to be a feature filmmaker, that first feature is, like, the 49 Gold Rush, like, or I don't know, something rare. It's a unicorn. It's because that's, like, the first feature. It's just, like, it's such a, so, like, being asked, like, hey, do you want to come and be a part of this and this be your first feature? And it's like, yeah, like, I mean, like, it could have been like, and like, oh, and it's like, like, of course, like, I checked, like, IMDb's and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, this dude is in, like, Rock of Ages. Like, I've never seen Rock of Ages, but I know that, like,
He must know what he's doing.
Like,
He doesn't know what he's doing.
but, like, that's I mean, like, in the day and age of, like, the internet, like, it's like, oh, like, who's gonna be on set?
Sure.
Stuff like that, and then, I mean, like, once we started, like, talking and everything, like, we realized that we were, like, kindred spirits, and like that's just, like, so that was, like, the first thing. I was like, wow, like, this could be something that, like, means something. This could be, like, both, like, in terms of career, but also, like, in the, like, personal history. Like I no longer have to worry about my first feature, because it's done, it's out, it's available, it's in film festivals. That's like, so, like, first feature, huge moment. Getting that feature seen, which that was, like, 4 years in post-production, you kind of have moments where it's like not giving up, but like, is this ever going to come out? Are we ever going to finish this? If we do finish this, like, is it just going to sit on a shelf? Because like most movies that get made probably sit on the shelf, and that's not necessarily because like you're not good at it. It's just because like
There's so much that goes into it.
so much goes into it. So like hearing about those first film festivals, you know, and we've got like a group text, and it's just like, and I don't want to brag, but like the last couple months, it's been like, hey guys, we just won this award, or like
Another one.
this film festival, or like, hey guys, here's a 5-star review. Here's some dude who said that this is the best found footage movie of 2020. Like, here's like all this stuff, and it's like, it's, pardon my language, it's fucking surreal.
It's amazing.
Like, this is the thing that 4-year-old me, I am living the life that I've like dreamt of since I was like 4 years old, and that's like crazy. So like, I think we sold it like a year-ish ago, maybe around last year, and was kind of, we're like, all right, now it's out of our hand. But that was the real, it's like when we hit render for the final time, export, me and Chamber together, and we just cried, and we didn't, but we were just like, I think we sat in silence for like a couple minutes,
Because
like,
it was one of those real moments where we looked at each other as like, is it really done now? Like, you know, and yeah.
and then like, you know, Shane took it and hustled with it, and some of the producers like took it and hustled with it. So like at that point, like it was just sort of like on me to just kind of sit and wait and like kind of talk to some people, like, hey, like, do you guys know anybody who like could watch this thing, give it a watch, give it a thought or whatever. And then suddenly like the name High Octane Pictures is like popping up, and like that was like okay, we don't want to say, like, we don't want to jinx it, and like we like had like, that was like, you know, suddenly it's like picking back up again. We're talking, and we're like, these guys really want to buy it. These guys are really like, they watched it, like they sent us emails like, we really love the film, we want to, you know. And now like, yeah, like I could genuinely like cry. Like it's so crazy.
Well, I like to be very transparent and probably a little sappy, but like we had the 12-hour live stream the day before the film release, and I haven't told Matt this, but I think you could probably tell at the end of it I was getting emotional. I wept after.
Yeah.
And I realized why. It's like, because for me, my personality type is, until like I sign the contract and I'm on set as an actor, I can't get excited because there's too many factors that can come into play, and anything can happen. So while I do get excited when I find out I booked something, I can't really fully enjoy it and then like tell people or whatever until the ink is on the paper. Even then, anything can happen. But for this, it was so many years and so many ups and downs, and there was just so many behind the scenes things that weighed on me that I didn't fully realize that we were going to do this until the film was on Amazon. Yeah. And that might sound ridiculous, even though we sold it, even though we shot it, until it was out to the world. It was still like but it was still weighing on me a bit. It was like, I've used this saying over and over, but it felt like, I kind of feel like now I know what it's like to send your kid to college. Like now you're out there, you're on your own, so to say, but like I wept, man. For about 30 minutes, like, just because it was just so many things of like letting it go, like everything that went into it. And like, the ups and the downs and the just, there's a lot that goes into it. Not just like the struggles of the work, but like, if you're working with a team, there's going to be personality clashes. There's going to be, you just need to prepare yourself for that. And you're not going to be the same person you went into the battle as. You're going to end up as a different person. So it was just like so much. It was like just this surreal feeling that like just started welling up at the end of the live stream, and then just like the floodgates after. But yeah, so I that feeling of like it finally seeing it on Amazon, very, very surreal.
Yeah. And it was cool because we did this live stream, and like kind of towards like the midnight ish, we had all like gone to Amazon, we're like refreshing it.
Check, refresh.
There was like the air in the room changed a little bit, you know? Like I'll never forget that. I was sitting right in this chair, but it was like this, like there it is. And I mean, like, you know, I still like, it's like, it's still there, but it's and yeah, like it was a hard 2-week shoot. It was a hard 4-year post-production that, you know, like it was. And I mean, like, film is hard, you know, but at the same time, you know, and I'm biased because I'm a filmmaker, you know, duh. Like, some accountant is like, no, accounting is the best industry you could possibly get in. It's the most reward. But I'm like, this is the most satisfying, amazing, rewarding industry. It's the best job in the world. And I genuinely, like, any filmmaker who's like watching this or watching anything, like, I want you to feel like this. Like, I want you to be like I feel like so accomplished. And I know, like, I'm just getting started. Like, I have so much to do, so much to offer, but I'm just like, man, like I am letting myself, and it's something I don't do very well, but I'm letting myself be proud of myself. Like, and I think any filmmaker needs to do that. Like,
well, dude, there's so much, like, I relate to you about that with, because even it's a little bit imposter syndrome. It's a little bit like a fear of like, oh, this is going to be taken away from me. It's all of that. Like, I show up on a set and like, it's undeniable that like the imposter syndrome is going to start creeping in, and they're going to be like, when are they going to find out I'm a fraud? Like,
right.
you know, like, so I get that. Like, the whole aspect of like, when you said like, I keep checking Amazon, is it still there? Like, because we expect, like, you know, because we've gone through so many things of like trial and error. And this is the one time that it like, oh, it's out, you know, we finished it, and I'm proud of it, you know, like, you know, so there is that feeling because of, you know, you don't get to the point of like making something and getting it out there without having to go through a lot of rejection, a lot of failure. And we still will, you know, it's not to say that, oh, we made this movie and now William Morris is calling, and, you know, no, like, we're still going to go through rejection. You know, after I did Rock of Ages, I have auditioned hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times and haven't booked things, you know, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't freaking matter. Like, that's just a part of, and I'm saying this because I need to hear this, but it's a part of the journey. Like, you know, like wins and losses, you know, but it is important, Matt, to appreciate it when you have a win, you know?
Yeah. I think everyone's searching for this I have arrived moment, but not enough people like enjoy the work and the journey. And I think it's great that you guys are enjoying where you're at right now. And you guys are pursuing, you know, several different things right now, but you're enjoying that there's a feature film that you guys made on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, you know, like, you know, that being said, it's like this year it was a blessing and a curse, I think, that the film was released this year. You know, I think this year we probably, you know, it being released the way it was, we're probably getting more people watching it versus last year. You know, there was just so many more movies coming out at the same time. And, you know, so people, and also this year, people are hungry to see movies, new movies. Like, I'll watch anything. I just need something new to watch.
Right.
But, you know, that being said, it was a little bummed me out a little bit that we didn't get to have like a premiere experience or like a, you know, some kind of like go back to my hometown. It's not to say that we can't in the future, but like go back into my hometown and have a celebration and a screening at our hometown movie theater, you know. Hopefully one day we'll still be able to do that, like maybe like an anniversary of it or, you know, something like that. But like, so it was a, you know, a double-edged, you know, pros and cons, but I think that's the general consensus of this year is like most people are finding a lot of pros in a year full of cons.
Yeah.
And guys, I have a lot more questions I'd love to ask, but I want to be respectful of your time. I should have done this before we started. So we have been talking for an hour. Are you guys good to keep going?
I'm out.
All right. Bye, Shane.
No. I'm good for a little longer. Yeah.
Cool. So there's a scene that I wanted to talk to you about, both of you. So without spoiling it, there's a really intense scene between your character Shane and Charlie, And I wanted to ask like how you guys like went about doing that scene. It's one of my favorites. It's super intense. If you know the one that I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, like I said, like every actor has their different way of getting prepared for a scene. But with Jeremiah and I, like we were on an improv team at the time, and we were kind of known for being physical comedians, very much so in like Los Angeles, and like so. There's always with Jeremiah and I, and anything that we've done is like, there's so much trust of like physicality, but also like with something like this, I think there's so much that goes into it. It's like, hey man, we're making our own movie. We got to be physical. So let's just go for it, and also like I used to be a wrestler. So, there is a physicality in that scene that I was able to make look a lot more believable than maybe most, but like, we went for it, man. Like, and I think that like, you still can be physical and safe in a scene, and I think people can see when something feels inauthentic or too much like a song and dance, like, oh, they're just out there doing a ballerina act, but like, no, we just went for it, man. And I think that like, that's always like what I like to do. I've always, and sometimes to my detriment, but like on films and more independent films than anything, like, cause you can't get away with as much on like a SAG shoot, but I just like to go for it. I like to like, I'll fall and jump and whatever, like, but every actor is different. So it's like, you gotta talk beforehand and figure out what they're comfortable with. And, this was a little bit different of a situation because him and I had that existing chemistry of physical comedy and stuff. So,
And Matt, how did you go about like directing that scene?
Yeah, well, first of all, that's another hat. Shane Orr was basically like stunt coordinator, like, and like he's got like a background in wrestling, and I mean, which was not how we came together. Like it just happened to be that he was a dude with a background in wrestling, and I was a dude with I have never been a wrestler, but I work with wrestlers and wrestling and everything like that. So it's just kind of like a funny, ironic thing that happened. Yeah, I mean, like, again, it's that like they had chemistry, and I just like trusted that like they've been physical before. They trust each other. That's like a huge thing of like you don't have to. And I mean, like, it helps that they are good friends, but like you don't have to like each other to trust each other. To get in like a tussle or whatever. But like there's like other moments where like things are like getting physical. Like one of the characters is thrown onto Shane, and Shane walked her through like basically just like taking a bump in kind of a wrestling term, and it looks really brutal in the film, but it was basically just like, yeah, just like we'll do this and it'll look really bad, but like it was very safe. Like that, like that's like the biggest thing is like always just being safe and
And I think at the end of the day, like in most sets and situations, everybody kind of wants the same thing. So I think that most actors kind of get into this zone of like, let's just go for it because like at the end of the day, it will usually look better. Now that's not to say go out there and kill yourself, but like if you get a little scratch on your elbow, but at the end of the day, like the scene benefits and then the film benefits and we all end up happy. Like, I think that, that's usually at least what I've run into is most people, I've also been in other situations where, people weren't as comfortable. So, but I think most of the time people are all wanting the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like that's not to say that like we didn't all get our bumps and bruises. Again, I broke my toe, but like I would go back and break my toe again. Like I don't look back and be like, oh yeah, like I'm not gonna promote the Haunted Grady Farm because I broke my toe on that. It's like whatever. It's just it's a fun post movie release.
You did have to get your toe amputated.
It's a gangrene spread, and now
I was wondering why you were walking funny around the office.
Yeah,
since then, but I never asked.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So,
yeah.
This is kind of a two-parter question. So, I want to talk about your distributor, High Octane, how your relationship with them, and like what had been going on between 2016 all the way up until now 2020. I know you guys have been editing. You went back and forth on some the way the film should be, and of course just finding a distributor?
I met my contact at High Octane years before the film came out. I was referred to him through actually, like how I said, one of my friends made a movie, sold a movie, and so wasn't to High Octane, but like when I was finishing, or when we got done with Grady Farm, and we hit a point where it's like, we really need either somebody to help us with post, or this post is going to take quite a long time. I met with him, and he immediately referred me to High Octane Pictures, because he's like, these people got a great reputation, brain fart. Sorry. Or they have a great reputation, which is consistently what I'm hearing from people, or consistently had heard from people. So I reached out really early on, and this was in like, even still, I think 2016, I was reaching out to them because I was like initially wanting their help with like finishing funds for the movie, which didn't end up happening, but like I was able to keep that relationship with them. So I would occasionally keep checking back in. I think I checked back in when we had a cut that we sent to like Slam Dance and to some festivals in October of 2018. And then it was a couple months after that, like we then had a final cut, and they were like, yeah, we love it. Let's make this happen. And that's, long story short, what happened is like, I got that relationship, and I kind of just kept it, I kept checking in, and like, they were interested really early on, and then they liked the finished product.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Matt, what was your experience like with that? Or I'm guessing Shane mostly handled that?
Yeah, Shane did like pretty much a lot of the legwork. I have known a couple people who sold films, and so I kind of asked them like, hey, like, can you possibly put me in contact with people? And unfortunately, and it was a very common thing, and I'm very thankful for like every interaction with Hop has been great. High Octane Pictures, because like everybody that I talked to who sold them was like, you don't want to sell to who I sold to, like, and it's like
I got that so much.
Yeah, story, like you don't like look like feel good about like getting your thing out there, but like and I don't want to like say like who said, because I don't want to like get them in trouble, like just in case there's like a distribution thing or whatever. But like story after story after story of like, yeah, I sold my first feature and they screwed me and they took advantage and they changed things like that. And like so like we got like our contract from Hop, and we were like, hey, like what's this? And they were like, oh yeah, we can change that. And like, hey,
they were so open to like, and they weren't trying to take advantage. And that's, the reputation I heard from them. And what I liked immediately, like Matt is saying, is they were so open to like things we did want to change and go back and forth on.
Because like once we signed that contract, like they could literally like request like all our raw footage and just make a whole new movie technically. And like, and
that's happened in other situations before.
Yeah, that's very common.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Some distributors will buy a film just to shelf it. Just to be like, we don't like this film so much that we're going to buy it and we're never going to let anybody see it ever. Like,
why? What's the point?
It's a crazy industry. Competition, weirdness. I don't know, like egos, stuff like that. Like it's just there's a lot of money. There's a lot of ego.
That's why it's very important to read contracts.
Read the fine print, and if you do have questions, like if you have questions about your contract and you're afraid to ask the person that you're in the contract with, that's probably a good sign.
That's a good sign. I never even thought about that.
So like the fact that like we were like, and we had like conversations, and Shane, looped me back in once we had gotten all this stuff, and it was like, we would ask like, hey, like, when you say like, so like we have like details in our contract that are like really rare for like first features, but like transparency has been like really amazing, and they're like literally like
communication too.
Communication, like they have been like communicating with us, and like they've been like very like lenient with us because we're like, we don't know what this is, and they're like, oh, this is what this is, and you can go here to get this thing, because there's like you don't just give them like your movie, you give them so like they give you like this long list, and you're like, oh, that's not a big deal.
Delivery process is a long process.
So yeah, like we sold the film like a year ago, yeah, but it has taken this long to give them every piece, and then they go like, okay, we think okay, actually we need like this piece, and we need this piece, and we need this piece, and we need this specific 2-second sound file for this thing that we're gonna do. It's pretty wild, and it was very eye opening. And I'm really thankful because like I was like a part of that, because like Shane and I kind of split. Like Shane took like this chunk of things, I took this chunk of things.
We were back and forth working on stuff. You want to know the thing, and probably the whole part of the production process that was the hardest thing for me, just because I hate little tedious things. I'm a hard worker. Like physically, I can do hard work, but I hate little tedious things so badly. So in the delivery process for High Octane, one of the things they needed for the foreign markets and for subtitles and whatever is they gave me this spreadsheet, and they're like, okay, Shane, so we need you to go through the movie, and anytime anyone speaks, give us a time code of the beginning of the line and the end of the line, and then also the line. Now, that being said, also with this movie, we made the artistic choice. No, it was very natural, but the natural choice to like have overlapping conversations at times. So that being said, I had to go and listen with like a fine-tooth comb and get every line that overlapped each other and time every single line. It took me, I would work on it for probably 5 to 7 hours a day for 4 or 5 days straight. No joke. God. Very tedious.
And remember, this was improvised, so we didn't have a
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, that's probably that line. No.
Yeah, there was no, like, because the script we started with was by the end of the day not the script that what the film became. In most cases, that's a similar situation. But like, and that's another thing. When High Octane, they were like, we would like, a copy of the script, and I'm like, okay, but it's not the same movie. But yeah, the delivery process, if anybody's watching and you're preparing to like reach out to distribution, just know that it's not like hey, we sold our movie, here's the file. No, it's a lot of work. And that's why, like, most experiences of like that are higher budget and the real, I don't want to say real deal. That's not the right words I was looking for. That kind of experience of like the higher budget film is like, that's why they have hundreds and thousands of crew members, is because you've got so many people doing all of these things,
Yeah.
So.
Typically, like, it would not be the director and the producer scrambling over every little detail. Like, you would have literally like a team of people that's like, okay, like your DT or this and there and that stuff. And yeah, it was such an, like, because like, I hope that every single person, all three of us, go through this process. Shane and I again, Trevor, you for the first time, but like, I mean, I'm just gonna be even more ready for that next time. Like, hey, be like, yes, I do. I know you need this from me. That kind of thing. But it was, I mean, it was daunting in the sense that there was a lot to do, but it was not daunting because it was like, this is the finish line. So yeah.
Well, it helped me 100% with doing Cookie. Like, if I didn't go through, Grady Farm and the things we went through, like, and we're still even going through at the time, I don't know that Cookie would have ended up like it did, because like I realized the value of bringing someone in at the beginning and budgeting and making sure what you need to make the thing how you want. And like, I was able to work with an amazing woman that is now a great friend of mine. And she was able to break down the budget and give me options, like a low end budget and then the dream budget. And then, so it was, you just realize the value of crew and every little position and every little piece that goes into making a movie. And that was a hard part too, is like, because we shot in my hometown, there was people all the time for all of those years coming to me. And Matt, you probably experienced it over and over and over. Like, where's your movie? Where's your movie? And it's like, you want to just yell at them because it's like, you have no idea. But it's like, they don't have any idea unless you're in the business. You could never grasp how much goes into it. If you're doing it the route we chose to do it.
What was was the subtitles the most tedious part for you?
For me personally, 100%. Yeah.
Man,
But
what
it
about you,
wasn't
Matt?
this wasn't even the subtitles though. Like, to be more specific, it was a spreadsheet that was used for foreign subtitles, but then there was a different way that we generated the subtitles.
Mhm.
Not to get too technical, but yeah.
I got you. What about you, Matt?
Probably, I think I hit the export button no less than 200 times just to make sure. They're like,
Constant exports.
we need a version that has like a watermark, and it needs to be full HD, but it can't be more than a gig. And it's like, okay, I have to get an hour's worth of content in full HD under a gig. So doing a lot of like math about like, it's like, this isn't gonna come out looking good. No problem, just need it. Okay. Then we need like a ProRes version. We need like a 4K version. We need like a 1080 ProRes version. We need like a version that's like able to be like put on DVDs. We need a surround sound version. We need a stereo version. We need a mono version. We need like this version. So I'm like, okay, like, and I mean like on, you know, Avengers Endgame, they've got 3 computers for the 4K version. They've got 3 computers working simultaneously so they've got like $1 million to make the version that's going to go on Amazon, the version that's going to go on Netflix, the version that's going to go on Disney Plus, the version that's going to go on Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray, this and that and the other. I have 1 computer, and it was like, okay, like, all right, I can only render one thing at a time. I can only upload one thing at a time. And so that was like my tedious, but it was like, and then like making sure that every render like hey, there's like a missing frame in this one, okay, I have to go back and re-render. Or like, hey, it's like, go ahead and put your logo on this, okay,
because yeah, that at that point of the process, you're going to miss things because you've watched it so many times. It becomes labor. Like, it's hard to watch your own movie that many times, and then you go through like all of the mind games of like, will people like this? What about I don't know. Like, it's like, if you watch something at some point, you're bound to like start questioning it. And like, so it was we get to the end of it, and like, I was happy that Matt and I looked at it at the very end of it and like had a moment of like, we're done. And I think it's good. Like, I'm proud of it. Like, because like, that's not usually the case when you've worked on something for that many years. Most of the time you just hate it by the end of it.
Yeah, I feel I've not made a feature, but just with the short films and the DDP yoga videos that I've made, there's just a point where you've watched it so many times and you hand it in and someone will be like, "Hey, there's a whole scene that's missing. What happened to that?"
You space, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not there. You know what? Not meant to be.
Yeah, this video's done. Move on. This whole scene's missing. But guys, thank you so much for being on. I just want to talk about you guys, as individuals for a couple minutes, because I think both of what you guys do is just amazing. Shane, go ahead and plug in everything you do. Donut Punk, your TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah. So if you want to follow my personal social media, it's on the screen.
Right
Shane
there.
Shane underscore Hartline is most of my social media. So yeah, find me. And yeah, I launched an apparel company recently, Donut Punk. I'm actually wearing the hat. Hold on. And Matt's got a shirt, but yeah, there's our little hat. Matt's got the shirts, and
Looks good.
I'm proud of it. It's something I've been working on for a while, and as like, especially during a time right now where, not as much acting happening. So creatively, I need something that, creatively fulfills me and also makes me a little money. And it's something I've wanted to do for a long time. So I've been developing it for almost a better part of a year, and we launched a month ago, and now's the part of the process where I'm trying to get the word out there and get people excited about it. But I like to tell people it's like a clothing line that like mixes my 2 favorite things, donuts and nostalgia. So it's got like, it's like very donut inspired with nostalgic vibes, and it's we're at the beginning phases. So if you want a really unique donut inspired Christmas gift, hop on over to donutpunk.com.
Heck yeah.
And watch The Haunting of Grady Farm, baby.
Absolutely. And Matt, you you do a lot of projects on the side. Matt and I recently made a short film and collaborated on that. Matt was my DP and he helped me write it and produce it, called Camp Ripley. You can watch it on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/portabletrevor. Matt, take it away. Tell us what you do.
Yeah, so this is a really exciting time for my production company, Idiot Motion Films. There was a big release in October. That was Camp Ripley. The hugest release of all time in November. That was The Haunting of Grady Farm. And then every week in December, we're going to be dropping a short film. It's a series called All Things Must Pass.
What?
Film series that I've been working on since 2017. Some really cool, like, not experimental in like a David Lynch way, but just like experimental and kind of like a lot of like, it's like different vignettes of like different relationships, but they're all like very like inspired by like real life things that have happened to me, things that have, kind of been around my life, stuff like that. So just like 5, short pieces over the 5 weeks in December, every Wednesday in December. And then, yeah, just like telling people about Grady Farm, go watch it. Like really, like we're proud of it. And then like, I got my eyes on feature number 2. I'm kind of, eking out the script right now. And it's something that I think is really cool. And to take a minute just to be like, we want people to watch, and like, we want people, because we do this for everyone. Like we make films and we hope that people watch it and everything like that. But like one thing is like that, like seriously, like we would love for people to like watch our film, and like we'd love for people to like give it a review, give it a like, give it a share, because like it really does like that. Not just so that we feel good about ourselves. I mean, it does feel good about ourselves, but like the more like it gets seen, the more it gets reviewed, the more it gets all that stuff, the more we can take that information, go to the next producer and be like, hey, look, it just makes feature number 2, feature number 3, feature number 4 easier, because like I've been like reading about feature number 2, and like it's like, okay, so you did this once, what you got now? So we're just asking people to like, throw us a little bit. Like, if you like it, we want to keep doing it. And it just makes it all that much easier. And this is what we love to do. And we love sharing our lives, our creativity with everybody. And so, yeah, like check it out. It's on basically like every platform, like, but Amazon is easy. Like,
I watched it on Amazon last night. Highly recommend it. Unless you don't like giving your money to Jeff Bezos, which I understand.
But we worked very hard on it. Shane went from a complete stranger to one of my best friends, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. And I wouldn't.
Can't wait to make the next thing, dude.
Yeah, man. Like, it's a tree. I've not made more films than I've made. So like, I feel like my feet are on the ground. I feel like my eyes are to the sky. It's time to keep going, and every little bit helps. So yeah, I don't feel ashamed in asking people like, yeah, like, give it a watch, give it a like,
yeah,
like it helps, and it's just, it means a lot. Like it's been such a cool like period, and I love sharing it with people. I love like, not for the ego, but I just love like people like that I haven't talked to in a while are like, hey man, I'm really excited to see your film. And it's like, it's really cool, like reconnect with people. And it's just a really cool period. And I'm very thankful for Shane and Ben and Malia and Jeremiah, Amanda, and, everybody for letting me into their world with them. And yeah, I'm gonna speak their praise till the end of my days. So that's
awesome. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much. Is there any closing thoughts or anything you want to say to the audience? Any advice?
No, just real quick, I would like to echo, like, you hear a lot of the things that you consume, whether it's a podcast, a film, or a YouTube, a live show, repeat, over and over the rating and review. But like Matt said, it is so important and so easy. So if you are watching something or consuming something on a regular basis, take the minute or 2 to leave it a rating and review. It's not like something that they just have to say. It does help. Like Matt said, it like will help us make the next thing. And, like Matt, I'm wanting to make another feature and hopefully include these guys. And, so it only can happen if like, it sounds silly, but rate and review. Like that's how because then you take that and you present it. So
Yeah.
I wanted to echo that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I could say that with, not just these guys. These guys aren't just saying, please help Grady Farm, which they, obviously are, but, things like this, it definitely helps when you guys are commenting and telling people to go watch my show. It's very helpful. Artists, it's a very trying time right now.
Yep.
It's
Give that
very
thumbs
helpful.
up. Give it a thumbs up.
No.
Give us a thumbs up. All right, everyone. Also, I'll say this before we go. These are the first returning guests I've ever had, Shane and Matt.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about these guys, I've already talked about them. They both have their own individual episodes. Matt Dickstein and Shane Hartline. You can look.
Are you going to send us
my...
the two-timer jacket that you told us you were going to send us?
yeah,
when is that
totally.
coming?
Very cold.
Is next week okay, Mr. Hartline?
Yeah,
oh, okay,
great.
cool.
That's great.
It looks kind of looks like the Masters jacket. Totally green.
Perfect.
Anyway.
Perfect.
All right, cool. All right, thank you guys so much. This episode will be up tomorrow, youtube.com/portabletrevor. Hope you all have a blessed day.
Bye, everybody.